Hey there, survivors. Cougar here, taking a break from surviving to help a group of people survive in the post-apocalyptic city building, society building game Frostpunk. We're going to start a new game right here. I'm not going to play the entire opening cinematic for you, but I'll play the last 30 seconds or so as kind of a scene setter. Let's get started.
We decided to leave our homes and head north. We roamed for weeks, maybe months, leaving behind all the things we once believed had made us. It was hope that pushed us forward. Slowly, step by step, we knew the cost of our journey. And we paid the price 100 times. Finally, the time has come to build the last city on Earth.
Great. So, a new home. We fled from London across the sea to reach the frozen north, yada yada. On our way, our convoy was hit by a blizzard and scattered. Whatever we do, we should expect the worst. Now that the world as we know it has crumbled, we have to survive. So this is our crater. This is the beginnings of our city. In the center there, you see the generator that's going to keep us warm and give us power. Fight the cold. We need to get the generator working. It provides heat and power to other buildings. Without it, we'll freeze to death. Stockpile some coal and start the generator. Will do. You see up at the top here, coal, wood, steel, and steam cores, raw food, raw rations, the time of day, what time of day it is in general terms. It's time for people to be working. We've got 80, down at the bottom of the screen here, we've got 80 homeless survivors ready to be put to work. We've got some pick-upable resource nodes down here that we don't need any special equipment to be gathering. So let's put some people to work doing that immediately. I'm going to click on the pile and then max out the available workers, picking up a lot of wood there. And then we've got some coal over here. We'll max out the available workers, picking up this coal. And we've got a little bit of steel over. There's some here, there's some there, there's some here. Let's go with this pile that's kind of off here on its own. Let's just put 5 of the workers on the steel pile. We've got 15 engineers now waiting to do work for us. I'm going to not assign them to any specific tasks because we're going to need them to start building stuff. We're going to need to build some shelter for all these people. Right now, all we can build are tents. These will require 10 wood to build, and they will house 10 survivors each. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is all the wood we have right now, because we also want to build a medical tent for when people start getting sick. That's going to require 25 wood. So let's let our gatherers start bringing in some wood for us. You see we've got some kids playing around the generator down here. They got nothing better to do today. We're going to have to figure out what we do with those kids eventually, whether we send them to like daycare or put them to work. For now, however, we just got to keep an eye on our levels up here. We now have 28 wood, which is enough for us to build a medical post. We want to build these early structures right around the ring. So you're going to build in rings around the generator, right? Tents have no internal heating, so they need to be as close to the generator as possible. Same with these medical posts. Later on you can build buildings that are able to be heated by themselves and don't need to be as close to the generator itself. We are starting to stockpile some coal here. Eventually we're going to be able to turn on the generator itself, but not quite yet. Now, we could turn it on right now, but it doesn't really make sense to. Our people are doing fine as they are. If you look down here at the bottom of the screen, so we've got our construction button here. That's the hotkey is B to bring that up. We've got our discontent bar. Discontent is relatively low right now. Lack of shelter is an issue, but we're building shelters. Our hope is okay. It's not high, but it's not low. It's kind of right in the middle. Over here is the button that we will use to start issuing laws. We can actually do that right now. Here in the Book of Laws, we can choose between some basic laws. I think the first one we need to make a decision on is, do we put the kids to work or do we put them in daycare during the day while their parents are at work? Now, I'm going to kind of role play this. Yeah, I'm not going to say that this is absolutely the best way to do it. I want to have the kids in daycare, not at work. At work, they can potentially get injured, and that's going to bring our hope down slightly. Here, you don't lose hope, and you actually get a bonus by putting kids in the shelter. But we will have to build a child shelter as a result of issuing this law. On second thought, I'm not actually going to issue a law right now because that's going to put some constraints on us as far as our early initial resources, like telling us we have to build a child shelter. Well, we're going to build one eventually, but putting a timer on it is just going to force us to use precious resources here in these first early days. You see up at the top here, we've got our temperature. It's minus 20 degrees Celsius centigrade right now. The temperature will be dropping as we go along, eventually to the point where it gets so cold that people can't even go outside to work. So you need to be stockpiling your resources in anticipation of that cold weather coming. You see our engineers are hard at work putting up these tents. I'll speed up time a little bit, get them moving a little bit faster. We're bringing in a bunch of wood. Let's see how many more tents we can build before nightfall. I'm going to leave one slot open here around the generator to build a second medical post. All right, so we've built as many shelters as we can. So the workday has ended. The people will not be bringing in any more resources. The resources that we have now are all that we have for the night. We have not actually stockpiled enough coal to satisfy the requirement down in the lower left-hand corner, but we have enough to get the generator at least cooked up. The generator is off. People are afraid they'll freeze to death in their sleep if you don't at least turn it on for the night. Of course, we will turn it on for the night. Just going to stretch this as long as possible. People aren't getting sick yet, so let's just give this as much time as we can, maybe another half an hour or so until people start going to bed, and then we will actually turn this on. All right, let's go ahead and turn it on. So click on the generator. It is inoperative right now, but we can turn it on to steam level 1. Now you notice over here we have the overdrive button. That is obviously going to burn more coal, but it is also going to make it burn hotter and provide more warmth to these the structures surrounding it. And you see that down here at the bottom we had an indicator telling us that people were homeless. Now all of our tents have been built. There are no more homeless survivors. Our discontent is basically 0. That's great. Up here in the upper left-hand corner, you've got tutorial messages. You can turn those off if you don't even want to see them, but they can be useful if you're a beginner. You should definitely take the time to read through some of these. Now, I'm still a beginner. I'm not going to say, like, I'm an expert and this is absolutely how you want to do this. We've got 2 sick people, none of them being treated because we have not assigned any engineers to work as doctors in the medical post. Right now, with only 3 people sick, we can assign 3 engineers as doctors, and our efficiency, the efficiency of the medical post is at 100%. If we get any more illnesses, we're going to have to assign more engineers to them, and we're eventually going to have to build another medical post, which is why I've left this gap over here. That's where I'm going to put my second medical post eventually. But people are fairly content. They're very content, in fact, and they've got a fair amount of hope, so we're doing okay. Doing okay. It's not that cold yet, obviously, so that's good. Now the next things we need to start thinking about building, if I open the construction tab here, we've got tents, we've got a medical post. We need to start building some things to a hunter's hut. Hunters will go out at night and gather raw food. They'll bring it back here to the cookhouse where it will be cooked into edible meals. On the next tab, the resources tab, we've got a gathering post. You put these gathering posts down near resource nodes, and that will give workers a place to warm up and make them not have to travel so far to drop off the goods. We're definitely going to want to build one of these soon. Maybe not right this second. Let's just finish exploring the build tab. We can also build resource depots. They're just basically storage huts. Under tech, we'll need to build a workshop. Workshops are extremely important. We can actually get one of these down right away so that we are researching stuff as quickly as possible. Research is vital here. Obviously, as you move up the tech tree, you find more efficient ways to keep your populace warm and fed and safe, and that's definitely something that we need to be focusing on. We're going to end up building more than one workshop. We'll have at least 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 or 5 to really get that research progressing as quickly as possible. You see up here in the left-hand corner at our coal display how it's kind of flashing a little bit red here. That's telling us that we're just barely breaking even on coal resources. We're bringing in just as much coal as we're burning, which is not ideal right now. If you open down in the lower right-hand corner here, the economy screen, which is the V hotkey to open the economy screen, this gives us a more detailed breakdown of where our coal is being burnt. Right now we are bringing in 180 coal a day and burning 144 a day, so we're just barely stockpiling. We really would like to crank that up a little bit more if we can. To do that, once we build a gathering hut, that will help us bring in coal a little bit faster. Should we do that right now? Well, our workshop is built. We need to assign some engineers to start working it. As soon as I assigned the first engineer, it opened the technology tree for us to choose our first first technology to research. Heating, it's not that cold yet. We haven't expanded very far beyond the generator, so I'm not going to worry about heat too much right now. Beacon we're going to want to build fairly soon, but that doesn't have to be the first thing we build. Since the only way we have of gathering resources right now is to actually manually gather them, I'm going to make faster gathering my first priority as far as research is concerned, and now assign more engineers to our workshop. Get that research going as fast as possible. Alright, how we're doing. We're stockpiling wood fairly quickly. We're stockpiling coal at an okay pace, but not a great pace. Q and E to rotate the view. Mouse wheel to zoom in or out. You can zoom farther out to see a full map. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. The game is going to lead us to that eventually. When you zoom far enough out, it tells you how many people you've got working at specific sites and what their operating efficiency is. Right now, this is only at 87% efficiency, probably because we don't have an engineer assigned. Why don't we assign an engineer? That brought us up to 87% efficiency. That's probably just because people are on their way to work. If you click on the Workers tab, you can see what they're actually doing. So he's carrying resources. He's actually working. We've got one sick person. That's what's lowering the efficiency there. We've got a message. People from our convoy, family torn apart. Sir, a woman came forward after we built the workshop. She said that her husband and daughter didn't reach the city with the main group, but she's sure they're still out there. She wants to join the first scout team we'll send out. She urges you to hurry. We'll do what we can. So that will be explained. The game's going to lead us to that soon. Let's just hold off on doing anything about that right now. For now, speed up time a little bit and just let us gather as much stuff as we can. We have enough. All right, we've stockpiled enough coal to do away with that first mission. Now our mission, the generator hums with reassuring warmth. We shouldn't take it for granted. If the generator goes down, the city dies. Be mindful of coal reserves. We will. Now, food. There'll be no city if we starve to death. Secure a way to provide raw food and build a cookhouse to prepare meals. So let's make that our next construction priority. Let's go to the food tab. Let's build a hunter's hut. Hunters will go out at night and collect raw food, they'll bring it back to the city and bring it to the cookhouse, and it will be built at a cookhouse. Now you see that the ghosts here are yellow because it is not adjacent to a street. So we have to connect these to the main streets around the hub here by going to the construction tab, and then just to the left of the construction button is the build street button. Now we just need to run some streets out to these structures we just built. And we can even build a little street around the hub here. Now we completed a research, so we need to choose another research to get on. Let us build more efficient gear for our hunters, so they are going out and they're bringing back more food as they go out at night. It is getting late now. I hope that this hunter's hut gets built fast enough that we can actually send out a group of hunters tonight. We may have to take some workers off of another task in order to make that happen. Alright, it's built. We only have one worker available. One is better than nothing. Alright, people from our convoy, we need to build a beacon, which will allow us to put together a scout party, which will allow us to... I'm going to take the people off the steel wreckage and put them into the hunter's hut. I don't want to take them off the coal. I could take them off the wood. We seem to be doing okay on wood. We always need more wood, though. I'll just take a couple of them off of the wood and add them to the hunter's hut. Alright, so now you see these are the hunters heading out in the night to go get us some raw food. We need to assign people to work in the cookhouse to actually prepare that food. We can assign engineers to that for now and assign actual workers to it later on, since all of our workers are busy with other tasks right now. I'd like to max out this hunting hut in terms of available workers as soon as I can. It's a little tricky right now because we are so low on manpower. So the game wants us to build a beacon. We're going to have to research the beacon before that can happen. And then once the beacon is built, we can send a scout party out into the Frostland to search for them. Robert Corey says, get a move on, chaps. There's still plenty of work to do. That means the workday is starting. Morris Langston says that we're doing fine, all things considered. You can see that discontent is still... There is no discontent. So we seem to be off to a pretty good start here. We've got 3 sick people down at the very bottom. This gray cross here tells us at a glance how many people are being treated. When there are more sick people than there are spots in the medical hut, you'll see a red number above the discontent bar that will tell you that people need, we need either more doctors or another medical post to be treating people. Speed up time again. You see people going out to do their gathering. The work shift starts. You can build streets out to these resources, but these resources are not going to last forever. Eventually, and speaking of which, they just used up the last bit of wood from those wood crates. Wood crates depleted, wood crates depleted. This batch of wood crates were also depleted. So we need to reassign these people. We can assign 15 to that group of wood crates, and why don't we assign the rest of these guys? Well, there are more wood crates over here. So let's do that. Yes, I assigned a bunch of engineers there just to get some warm bodies doing it. Let me assign another hunter here. Here come our workers, our hunters, back from the evening's hunt. They're taking their food to the cookhouse where it is being turned into meals. If I click on the storage tab, you see that we have 59 standard meals ready to be served. We have 80 survivors, so that's not enough. People are going to go hungry tonight. You see down here, we just got a red indicator down here indicating that 4 people are hungry. We need to get more workers going. Another resources, that coal pile was just depleted. We need to get more workers crafting food in our cookhouse, and we need to reassign these workers that just exhausted that coal field. Now, before I just send them out to another coal field, let's see if there's a smarter way to do this by going to the resources tab and building a gathering post. So if we put a gathering post here next to these 2 coal piles, that will make the trip faster in terms of them gathering. They only have to drop them off here at the gathering post. It will also give the workers a place to warm up periodically, so they won't be running as much of a risk of getting sick. We've got a message waiting for us. Workers are needed. There's so much to do and not enough hands to do it. A quick way of addressing the problem would be to put our children to work. Open the Book of Laws and consider signing the child labor law. Now again, just from a role-playing perspective, I prefer not to put these kids to work. I would prefer to have them in a daycare situation, a children's shelter. The downside of putting them to work is that hope will fall slightly and child workers can be injured in accidents. But they will work, so is the upside. The upside to building a child shelter is that hope will rise, and eventually you can put them to work on light duties, helping out either in a workshop or in a medical pod, a medical tent. So I don't know if it's the best way to do it, but from a role-playing perspective, I want to build shelters for these kids.
Listen, everyone. New law is signed.
I want their parents to feel comfortable knowing that they are in a safe, secure environment while they go off to work, so they don't have to worry about these kids. We do now have to. We do now. Shut up. We do now have to build a child shelter. That is now a mission for us. We have 2 days and 22 hours, so 3 days remaining in order to build a shelter. If we do not build a child shelter before this timer runs out, we will lose hope and increase discontent. Now we need to build a street out to the gathering post out here. So open the build menu, go to build street, and let's run a street right out here. That is not actually, it was yellow because it was not actually connected to the main street around the first ring of the generator here. Now it's green. Now the workers will build a street out there and then build this gathering post up, and they will be collecting coal from these 2 coal piles here. Our people are hungry. There's not much we can do about that until we assign more people to... Well, we can max out our hunters now. It is nighttime, so they'll be heading out on the hunt soon. Actually, they're heading out right now. There they are. So they'll be bringing back some raw food for us. People that are not assigned to any tasks will build stuff. So right now, nobody's working because it's free time. So people are available to come out and get this gathering hut built rather quickly. I'll speed up time a little bit. We're doing okay. Our coal, we've got about a day's worth of coal here. So even if we gathered no more coal from this point on, we would still have enough to get us through it one day. And it's not flashing red, which means that we have a comfortable surplus in terms of more coal coming in than we're burning. People are getting fed, so that's good. Our hunger stat is dropping. We don't have much in the way of steel right now, but you don't need a lot of steel for the first buildings that you can construct. You will need more later. Oh, and we need to assign a new technology to research. I think we better get that beacon built so we can actually send a scout party out and start looking for the leftover survivors. So let's get that research going. Now there's not much to do other than wait out the night. No one is sick, which is great, but it's not terribly cold yet. It's only -20. Only -20. We survived another night. That has to count for something, says Mary. Simon says, I've got to hold on. People are depending on me. A bunch of people are depending on you, Simon.
Brace yourselves. Cold is coming.
Oh, the temperature is plummeting down to minus 40 Celsius. Now, people are going to start getting sick due to this cold, and the fact that a bunch of these people are working out here in the elements with no gathering hut to help them.
Work time. Get moving.
And these guys are doing what? They're coming out here to this. Yeah, it's very cold out here. I'm reluctant to waste time and resources building more gathering huts right now. I'd really prefer to focus more on getting our tech up to the point where, because these resource piles are not going to last forever. We need to start building sawmills to gather these frozen trees, and we need to start building mines. Here is an iron ore deposit up here. We can build a steel work to mine this iron ore. And here are some coal deposits that we can build coal mines to extract. All right, our gathering hut here is built. We need to assign workers to it. It can take 10. I only have 8 available. That's fine. Unless I want to pull some off of one of these gathering areas that do not have... Yeah, they do not have any shelter out here, so it's going to be safer if I shift a couple of workers over here to the gathering post, where they'll have a little bit of warmth every once in a while and not run as much risk of getting sick. The cooldown on our laws, our book of laws, has just run out, so we can issue another law right now if we want to. We don't have to. I think food might be an issue here, so let's look at our food options. We can learn how to make soup, which will lower hope slightly, and discontent will rise slightly. Eating soup will cause discontent, but we can feed twice as many people. And you don't have to, even if we sign this law, you don't have to feed them soup. You can feed them regular meals if you have the food for it. So let's go ahead and sign the law,
Hear me.
which raises discontent and lowers hope. But at the same time, we do not have to feed them soup, which is going to make them more discontent. As long as we have enough food to be creating regular standard meals, which we do, we will go ahead and build and switch back to standard meals. Now, notice that this building is not even operating right now. The temperature has fallen to the point where people won't even go in there to work because it's too freaking cold in there to work. Their hands are going to freeze. Later, you can research technologies that allow you to put heaters in some of these buildings. And that will get these guys back to work. We've got an indicator that one of our citizens has become gravely ill with frostbite. That's not great, because we have no way of dealing with gravely ill patients right now. I'm going to have to pull a couple of engineers. Oh. Dangers of cold, frostbite. One of our people has become gravely ill due to frostbite. This will keep happening if people have to work in such cold. We must do something. There are laws that we can sign. The radical treatment law, we will allow doctors to amputate, frostbitten limbs and stuff. Hope will rise slightly, but 30% of the gravely ill treated in medical posts will be left as amputees, and they will not work. We will still have to feed them and take care of and house them, but they will not work. And discontent will rise slightly. We cannot actually put either of these laws into effect right now because we just issued one, so there's a cooldown in effect. The other option would be to sustain life. We will not amputate their limbs, but they will take up beds in the medical posts, which is not great. Hope will rise slightly, discontent will rise slightly, gravely ill will not be treated and will remain a burden, and the gravely ill will take up beds in medical posts. So I'm going to go with radical treatment. I think that's, we can't actually issue that law right now, but eventually I will issue the radical treatment law. Our beacon has been researched. We can now build a beacon and start new research. Let's get some new research started before we build that beacon. I am going to, let's get the heaters researched so that we can at least get people into our cooking house to get fed. Well, they'll go in there and get fed anyway, but we won't be turning out any new meals until that building, we can heat that building up a bit. Now let's get that beacon built. So we will go to the building tab. We will go to the tech tab. We need more steel to build the beacon. And I don't think, do we have people gathering steel right now? We have no one on that steel pile. I'm going to have to assign some people, which means I'm going to have to pull them off of one of these other tasks. We're doing pretty well on wood. In fact, we've almost reached the max stockpile. We've almost maxed out our stockpile of wood. We can build more stockpiles, but for now, let's just assign as many people as we can to build steel so that we can get that beacon built. To gather steel so we can get the beacon built. One thing to note here, you have the time controls up at the top here, normal game speed, fast game speed, very fast game speed. It will automatically revert back to normal game speed at certain periods, like the start of the workday or the end of the workday. So you got to constantly kind of monitor your game speed if you want it to be running fast. All right, night is coming, and this is when people are really going to start getting sick tonight if we can't boost this temperature a little bit with the temperature so low at minus 40 centigrade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it another few minutes. When people start heading into their homes to sleep, I'm going to kick the generator into overdrive. In fact, let's do it right now. All right, you see the discontent has just plummeted. They're no longer cold in their homes, so they're no longer discontent, and they will not be getting as sick as quickly. 3 people are gravely sick, and we have nothing to do with the gravely sick people right now because we have not issued the law that will allow us to take care of them. Now again, as this generator operates in overdrive, that's putting stress on the generator. This is our generator stress level here. You see it's climbing fairly quickly. If it makes it all the way to the top, it will explode, and that's basically game over. So it is game over. So we got to keep an eye on this and not just forget that it's in overdrive. Luckily, it makes that kind of chunky grinding noise to remind you that it's in overdrive. But you see our people are no longer as cold and no longer at risk of getting as sick. They're no longer as much at risk of getting sick. Keeping an eye on our timer down here, we have 1 day and 12 hours, 1.5 days left to get that child shelter built. I think that's fairly cheap to build. I don't think it requires, it does require some steel. But I think we should get that built just so that we don't run the risk of missing that deadline and generating a lot of discontent and lowering hope by quite a bit. So let's go ahead and get that built. People who are not working, again, will go off and build that. We've got a message. Treat the gravely ill. One of our people is gravely ill. If you sign the radical treatment law, the gravely ill will be treated in medical posts, but may undergo risky amputations as a result. Alternatively, you can sign the sustained life law to keep them alive until we build an infirmary. Open the book of laws. Our cooldown has now ended. Let's go with the radical treatment law.
Listen, everyone. New law is signed.
Discontent just went up a bit, but there's really nothing we can do about that. I mean, yes, even with George asks, even with all our advances in medicine, we have to resort to this. George, look around, dude. Look around. We're living in a frozen crater. We have to make some sacrifices. This is not going to be all roses and cream. Our hunters are heading out for the night's hunting. Our game speed has automatically reverted back to... Oh no, it's morning. They're heading out to work, sorry. Our game speed reverted back to normal. you got to keep monitoring that. I kind of wish there was an option where you could turn that off. Children have been cared for. The child shelter is ready. Children are safe inside. People can work without worrying that something will happen to their kid. Hope rises. Great. Look at that. Big boost to hope from building that child shelter. And, you know, it makes me feel better, too. Just knowing that these kids are going to be someplace safe during the day and not running around the generator looking to get hurt. All right, we'll turn off overdrive now. We've ratcheted that up as much as possible, and the people aren't even in their homes right now. They're all out at work. Wood crates depleted. Take me to which wood crates? These wood crates over here. Okay. So we've got to switch those guys to doing something else that's useful. We also have to pick a new technology to... Oh, okay, we've researched heaters. That's great. Next thing I want to be building resource gathering stuff. We're burning through those wood crate piles pretty quickly. So let's focus on getting a sawmill researched so we can build a sawmill near these frozen trees and start turning them into usable wood. We have enough steel to build our beacon now? No, we need a little bit more steel. Why don't we actually put more workers? Since we just lost a bunch of workers on the wood pile, we can send workers out to the steel instead. More wood crates depleted. See, we're burning... I think that's it for wood crates, isn't it? Yeah, we have no more wood crates. So the wood that we have right now is all the wood that we're going to have until we research and build a sawmill. Got a message waiting for us here. Child shelter, a note of thanks. We just wanted to thank you. Back in London, it was only the wealthy that didn't have to send their kids to work. In this new world you're creating, we can see things will be different. It was the right thing to do. Hope rises slightly, even more. Great. So our hope's in good shape. Our discontent is fairly low. We've got a fair stockpile of coal going, about 2 days worth of coal. This cold snap is not going to last forever. Hopefully, oh shoot, you know what we need to do is build a heater, or turn on the heater. We don't have to build a heater in the cookhouse, but we do have to turn it on. That is going to burn 1 coal a day, but it will allow our workers to get back to work and creating more stuff. We're down to 15 soup. It looks like it's automatically creating soup even though I have it set to standard meal. I read somewhere that is probably a bug. Oh no, there we go. Now it's kicking out some standard meals and some soup. Hopefully the people will eat the standard meals first. We need to build a beacon now. We have enough steel to get that done. This does not have to be someplace warm because no one's going to actually work here. So we can put this way out here by the gathering post out here. And people who are not assigned to other tasks will head out there and build that. Alright. Well, we're going to need more steel. I'm going to leave all those people on gathering that steel pile. I could shift them over to coal.
End of shift. Go rest all who can.
Okay, the cold snap is driving up our sick numbers. Now you see down here at the bottom, the gray, that is people who are sick but are being treated. This number here is the number of people who are sick and there's no room for them in the medical post over here. Oh, I clicked on a person, but the medical post is over here somewhere. There's the medical post. Let me put 2 more engineers in there so they can treat those patients a little bit faster. And remember, we saved this slot over here to build another medical post. So let's get that built right now. Go into the health tab and building a medical post there. See our people out here working on our beacon. That'll be up soon. In fact, very soon. It's almost done. I'm going to have to pull some engineers off of something Beacon built, we're no longer lost and blind. From now on, our people will be able to survey the icy barrens that surround us, the Frost Land. This is great. Alright, now we can form a scout party. We're going to have to pull some workers off some other tasks to make that happen, but that's alright. That's just... It'll be worth it because hopefully we'll be sending scouts out to bring back more survivors. Alright, now here's the big map, okay? We've got 2 locations we can send scout parties out to. This is our Lost Expedition. That is actually our mission. And then there's a gloomy cave over here that we can also send people to. But before we do either of those things, we need to make a scout party. We have 5 workers available and 40 wood available to make a scout team. Now that takes us automatically out to our map screen, and then click on the scout team, click on their destination, and hit the green arrow to send them to that destination. This tells us that it will take them 10 hours and 48 minutes, call it 11 hours, to reach the destination. In the meantime, it is getting to be nighttime now, and it is cold, and we do have enough coal to kick this back into overdrive, but we really don't want to leave it running all night because we're already putting a fair amount of stress on our generator. Now you see the discontent level plummets when we kick that into overdrive, but there is a price to be paid. We've built the medical hut. We only have 1 engineer available to staff the medical hut. We've got a message. Ready to search. People cheer as a giant observation balloon soars above the city. This is a real feat. Everyone feels proud of the work they've done to make it happen. Volunteers have lined up, eager to go looking for our lost people in Frostland. The woman who came forward earlier is among them. We needed a win. Now we've got a win. That's great. Where can I build? I'm going to pull an engineer off the cookhouse and put him on the medical post to treat more people. Now you see again down here the red number 5 indicating there were 5 sick people who were not being treated has disappeared, and the number of sick people being treated has gone up to 10. And our hunters are heading out for the night. We've got 15 hunters running now. We've got 1 more sick person, and there's no room for him at the inn. Hopefully these sick people will be treated fairly quickly. Let's check the countdown on that. Actually, not so much. Well, John Pierrepoint's only, as a child, he's only got about 9 hours of treatment left, so that's good. And again, it's not going to stay this cold forever, although eventually it will get even colder. But this little cold snap is going to let up soon enough. The countdown, the cooldown on the Book of Laws has expired. We can issue a new law. I'm not sure we want to at this point. We don't have any dead people yet, so we don't have to worry about a cemetery or corpse disposal. Emergency shift is useful. It puts people to work. It really cranks up the discontent, and people can get hurt working the emergency shift. But you need to have emergency shift law issued in order to reach extended shift. I don't know if you can see it. It's grayed out up here above the emergency shift. We want to get to extended shift. So why don't we go ahead and sign the emergency shift law, even though we won't actually use it. We will really only use it for emergencies. We've got 4 more sick people. The temperature's so low that people are getting sick, even though we're burning a lot of coal, keeping this in overdrive all night long. Burning a lot of coal, putting a lot of stress on the generator. But we do what we have to do to keep the number of sick people manageable. Another sick person. Another person just got sick. Alright, it's 5 in the morning. The sun's coming up. I'm going to switch this off of overdrive. People are going to be going to work soon. Discontent does rise. I probably should have built another gathering hut here, but I don't know. I mean, once these coal deposits are gone, that gathering hut's not going to be good for anything. You can deconstruct it. I am a little worried about the sickness aspect, and we do have enough wood. I'm going to go ahead and build another gathering post out here. We don't have a lot of steel, but we can put a gathering post here, and it will get steel and coal. We need to connect it to a street. Open the build menu, run a street out here. Alright, that's green, that's now connected. Alright. Okay, the temperature's rising. We are up to, it's not as warm as where we started at -20, but it's not as cold as where it was just a minute ago at -40. We're now at -30. So that's good. We don't have to worry about kicking this into overdrive too much right now. Our scouts have reached the lost expedition. We'll order them to explore around the area. And sure enough, a happy reunion. We enter the camp appearing out of the driving snow. A choir of excited voices welcomes us. Thank God you found us. We'd been wandering for days until we couldn't go on any longer. Soon we'd begin to starve. Children and adults surround us, packed and ready to go. You can either escort the survivors back to the city or send them back to the city on their own and continue scouting. If you send them back to the city on their own, it will take longer for them to get there, and some of them may die along the way. This is an important group of survivors. We want them all to make it back alive, and we want them to get there quickly, so we're going to escort them back to the city. Up here, it tells us that it will take them 5.5 hours to make it back to the city.
Work time. Get back to work.
It is work time. They're heading back to work. Our discontent is still very low, and our hope is fairly high, so we seem to be off to a pretty good start here. Up here you can see our workers making use of the gathering post, using it as a bit of a way station, a warming up station, heading out to gather coal. And then once this is built, all these people who are trudging through the snow to get out here to this steel deposit has now been used up, which is actually kind of good because, well, it's not good in the sense that we just built this gathering post, but now that we've researched the sawmill, we can actually build a sawmill out here. Let's see if we can make that happen right away. We only need 10 wood to build a sawmill here. So let's do that. Also, we have a street already built halfway out here, so that's good. We just run that the rest of the way out to the sawmill and we're good to go. Alright, that's great. That makes me feel a lot better now that we have a sawmill down. We can choose another research project. Alright, we need to unlock the next tier of upgrades. Once we unlock this tier, it will unlock all the tiers, all the second tier upgrades. I think what we want to focus on now, it's not that cold yet, so I'm not too worried about getting a steam hub going. Also, our city is not that large. You really need the steam hubs when you start building in these outer rings way out around the city. So for now, let's just focus on getting our resources produced. Let's research a coal thumper. A coal thumper can be built anywhere. It does not have to be built next to any coal resource. You can build it anywhere, and it's basically fracking. It's going to shoot pressurized water down into the ground, and the coal's going to bubble up to the surface. Alright, the gathering post is built. We need to assign some workers to that. Fortunately, we have all those workers left over from the the steam pile that the steel pile that was just exhausted. So we have some. Scouts number 1 have returned safely to the city. They bring back with them 22 workers, 10 engineers, and 4 children. You can disband the scouts at the beacon or send them back out into the Frostland. We want to send them right back out. Reunions. It's heartwarming to see families reunited after so many hardships, but shouldn't there be other settlements nearby? The first expeditions left London long ago. They ought to be well established by now. They'll surely help us find our footing. Isn't that heartwarming? People hugging. I missed you so much. We will look for the others. Yes, we will. In fact, we will immediately send our scouting party back out to one of these other locations. The gloomy cave, the observatory, or the sturdy shelter. This gives you a little description of what's there and what you might expect to find there. There's no sign of movement at this bulky cylindrical structure, but there could be resources there, and resources are important to us right now. We don't really want another group of survivors flooding into the city at this point because we have to take care of the group that just arrived. We're going to have to house these guys. If you look down here, we've got 36 homeless survivors right now and 4 sick people. Search for others. Our people found a trail leading into the wilderness. We should follow. We must find other people and ask them for our help to secure our survival. We just did that, sending our scouts immediately back out to find another location. But I think that this is actually a good place to wrap up this first episode of Frostpunk. I'm not really sure whether I'm going to be doing more. I just wanted to give you guys a taste, a little appetizer, see if this game interests you. If you're interested in seeing me play more of Frostpunk, leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment down below indicating that. Otherwise, this may just be a standalone just to kind of show you the game, see if it interests you, and maybe you'll want to pick up a copy for yourself. You can get it on Steam or Green Man Gaming or GOG, a bunch of other sites like that. Now that our sawmill is built, we immediately want to assign some workers to the sawmill. Let's get at least one engineer out there to help. Now that we have more engineers coming in, we can max out the engineers working as doctors in the medical tent. Here are the survivors coming in right here. Isn't that great? So we got to get these guys housed. We're going to have to build some more houses for these peeps. We're going to have to put them to work, find jobs for them. We're going to have to feed them, etc., etc., etc. All that we will take care of in the next episode, if there is one, if you guys are interested in seeing more Frostpunk. So leave a like and subscribe if you're enjoying the Frostpunk, and I will see you in the next episode. For now, survivors, stay safe, stay warm.